Hey, revolutionaries, and welcome back to another episode of the Secular Homeschool Revolution. This is your host, Ashley, your homeschooling hype girl, your biggest cheerleader, and the voice that reminds you that you are doing an incredible job. If you're new here, this is a podcast for BIPOC, secular, progressive homeschoolers. We like to disrupt the norms, take up space, so I thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to talk about 2025 goals. And this was hard for me because if I'm being transparent, I was grieving the election that we experienced. It just felt like a lot of chaos, a lot of just sad feelings. And in 2025, we are still, and it is about who won, but it was more about like the ugliness that was shown. We are still anti-woman. We are anti-black. We are anti-indigenous, um, immigration, LGBTQIA plus. Like it all just came out and showed its ugly head. And to exist in this time, we would like to think in theory that we've progressed so much, but this was a reminder that we have not, and we have a lot of work to do. And from a Black community standpoint, we aren't going to be the ones to fix this. Our allies need to stand up and they need to hold people accountable because this is y'all's fight. Y'all need to hold your people accountable. But I decided that I was not going to allow that negativity to control my progress for 2025. And so I was ready. I was able to develop this episode so that I could share my own personal resolutions. And when I say like resolutions or goals, I don't mean anything rigid. I'm not trying to add any stress to my life. I'm not going to do any checklist type resolutions. I saw on TikTok there, instead of vision boards, it was trending to do bingo cards. I didn't want to do any of that. Nope, not for me. What I am about is being more intentional and leaning into the power of consistent commitments because, y'all, consistency paves the way for greatness. And my motto for 2025, which is on my mirror in my bathroom, you must be consistent before you can become exceptional. You must be consistent before you can become exceptional. And I think that we should make that our collective mantra for the year. And I grew up seeing my Aunt Virgie, shout out to my Aunt Virgie. She always wrote her goals on her bathroom mirror, and she had pictures and she had dates when she was going to achieve things. And she's always been so goal oriented. So that is where I learned that from. And it is, something I will see every single day. So if you need a space to write your goals, I strongly encourage you to try your bathroom mirror. But let's get into, a little bit more deeper perspective of what my goals will be for 2025. It's going to be about having intense, hardline resolutions. I just don't need that kind of stress added to my life. Stress is stress. It's going to happen, but I don't want to provoke it. Instead, this year, I'm going to be focusing on commitments of consistency. I'm going to work on choosing values and habits that nourish me. And by extension, if I'm nourishing myself, that means my family is going to flourish because I am the roots and I need to be looked after. I often think about, every year I do like to have like a mantra. And so this year it is going to be, you must be consistent before you can become exceptional. And that resonates with me so much, especially because of this podcast. I think it's a prime example of that. When I started, y'all remember I didn't tell anybody about it. I was scared. I doubted myself, lots of second guessing. And honestly, the hardest part was just starting. But then the second hardest part was staying consistent. And guess what? Over time, that consistency built something beautiful. I remember celebrating 10 people listening to me on my fourth or fifth episode and was like, OMG, celebrate the small wins. And now, on all the platforms collectively, I have I think I'm like 20, 25 people short, almost 400 listeners. And that's just from one season. Now, imagine if I really planned better and showed it for myself to start my second season in September, where I would be now. Or if I committed consistently to social media. And there's a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas, but I do see that 2024 was a year of growth for me, and I was consistent, at least getting the first season down. But I do think the mantra, you must be consistent before you can become exceptional, is something we can implement and implement in our own homeschooling journeys and in any aspect of our lives. So, what am I committing to this year? It is going to be less about checking boxes and more about creating space for what brings me joy and balance. And I'm only sharing because I hope these ideas inspire you for your own 2025 goals. So, for one, reading for joy. Last year, I pushed myself to read 2 books a month, which was fine until it started to feel like homework or a chore. And for 2025, I just want to read books that spark joy and stories that inspire, educate, or overall just make me smile. I usually like nonfiction biographies, sometimes some thrillers. I I laugh because I don't I always try to like dabble into romance novels, and I don't think I was picking the right ones because I'd always like giggle or cringe. But I recently got on Book Talk, Black Book Talk, and like Black Book Talk romance novels. And I think I found my groove with it, and the way that I've just like cried and just like cried tears of joy, cried just like heaviness. I mean, I've cried in like heavy biographies, right? And I definitely don't ever really cry in thrillers. But I found this really nice genre where I like authors like Natasha Bishop, Tia Williams, Kennedy Ryan. They do a great job at not being corny, but showing Black women being loved and being loved well. And a lot of times it's without that trauma aspect that we see a lot with Black characters. And I'm finding my groove with that, and I'm planning to start or join a book club because I think I'm finding my people for my reading journey in that way. And I never thought I would enjoy like Black love novels because I always thought they're all love novels were corny, but I think that's an area that I grew into. So if you ever want to dabble in like a love book, check out Natasha Bishop, Tia Williams, Kennedy Ryan, Alexandria House. Those are a couple of my favorites right now. Next, it's going to be gardening and spending more time outdoors. I did get my garden for my birthday in November, and it's super cute. It's two sections, and then I have some like tomato and pepper planters, and I have some things sprouting. I planted some. I'm gonna have like a winter garden, so I have my carrots, bell peppers, some tomatoes, and what else? Oh, broccoli and cabbage growing so far. And because I'm in Texas and we've had a whole bunch of 80-degree weather, it has been nice to be out by my garden with my books. So I think I'm already, being intentional with the things that bring me joy. Next is movement and health. I'll be honest, this one I definitely need to take seriously. I feel more uncomfortable with my body. I've always been a big girl, and I grew up with a grandmother. I told you guys that everybody's jealous of me. It's not the size you wear, it's how you wear it, and you wear it well with confidence. and well, that's all good, and I'm all for body positivity, but I'm getting closer to 40, so I want to make sure that I live a nice, healthy life on this next extension of things. So I'm going to commit to moving my body more, seeing a nutritionist, and just overall creating more healthy habits around like sleep. I do need to commit to putting my phone on D&D more, and I think these changes will feel more like a gift to myself. Next, I am going to protect my peace. I think the first step of me protecting my peace is putting down my phone and being on D&D more. That means do not disturb, so that I can reclaim my time. I do need to reduce my screen time so that I can be more present for myself and for my family. And I want to dive into spaces where I can guard my peace and just lean into it. Another thing I want to work on is better spending habits. Listen, I love to cop new resources, curriculum that's on sale, curriculum that's not on sale, and tools like manipulatives for our homeschooling journey. I love to thrift. And I think I girl math when I thrift. Is that what they say on the TikTok? Like girl math. That if I go to the thrift store and I have a basket full of things and I'm like, oh, most of it is 50% off. Most of it's 25% off. This is a way better deal if I went to the mall. But yeah, if I do that a few times a month, that's a few $100s. So I have to work on saying no to emotional or impulsive spending and be more thoughtful and budget friendly with my purchases, because I do think my budget should get the glow up that it deserves. Okay, this next one is pretty deep. It's deep for me. Believing in myself. Y'all, when you meet me in person, most people think that I'm this very big personality. I'm often the first person to speak. I do attract people to me, and I know that about me. But I think I have to I do hype myself up when I go into spaces, and that's fine. But like in private, I definitely have a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors, and it really came to I noticed it this last, leg of the year. And those little self-sabotaging behaviors of doubt have really stopped me from thriving. And for instance, there was this creator who did reach out to me on Instagram who has a much bigger platform than I do, who listened to, Secular Homeschool Revolution and really loves, my perspective that I have a different point of view. I'm more vibrant. I'm just cool, right? Well, they thought I was cool in their words. They wanted to connect to see how we could vibe out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then I started thinking wow, if I connect with them, what could that do for my own platform? Which I don't ever think I wanted to be like a huge influencer. I think I've talked about it a little bit, but it never was like a main goal for me. And I just got too much in my head and I ghosted them. Yep, I did that to myself. And there's been a couple of other times where it's happened like that. And it really happened to me like this November, December. So I am putting myself back in therapy so that I can work on these self sabotaging behaviors because I know that this podcast again is my proof that belief leads to action. And I know I started off scared and unsure and full of hesitation. And I know the hardest part was starting. And I need to be better. So I'm going to commit to believing in myself more wholeheartedly and not seeking or needing, other people's validation because that is a hole in my happiness that I have to fill if I'm being, transparent or completely honest. So I think that's probably going to be the hardest goal for me in 2025. And I'm working on changing my perspective of it being hard and thinking about how fun and how much joy thinking that I'm that girl is going to be. So, what about you, revolutionaries? Take a moment and think about what consistency could do for you this year. What's going to bring you joy? What's going to bring you strength, peace? And how can you commit to it regularly, even if it's in the tiniest ways, right? Because those little actions will build into something magical. And I do want to recognize any new families or new parents that are out there who maybe homeschooling is going to be on their, vision board for the year. I want you to, I want you to listen up. I want you to know that you can absolutely homeschool your kids. You do not need to have all the answers. You don't need to have all the curriculum. You don't have to spend the hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have the just right curated space or even have all the confidence right now to start. Start where you are with what you have. And here's what I want to say to you from the bottom of my heart, that you are enough, you are capable, you know your kids better than anyone else. You are their advocate. Trust that, lean on that, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. We've got, a whole community and resources that we can share. You don't have to do this alone. Just take the leap because you'll find out once you're on the other side, it is worth it. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you fit in one of the boxes of BIPOC, secular, or progressive. We can help you, point you into the right direction. And I also know if you're already here, you have the courage to dream about what's possible. So take that first step and don't quit before you even started because you're limiting the amazing possibilities for your kids. My last word before I end this episode, 2025 is our year. It is the year of the revolutionaries. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, and it won't always be easy. But if we show up for ourselves and we stay consistent, I do believe that the magic will come. I know it's already within us. It's just waiting for us to shine a light on it. So I'll leave you with this thought to carry into your week. Give yourself the grace to be a beginner, the courage to be consistent, and the joy of watching yourself grow. That's another quote that's on my mirror. I was on a roll. This year is my year of 2025. I also have a goal before I go that I would like to go speak at a conference or some type of expo. So I think I'm going to manifest that. maybe you'll see me in a town or city near you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you are loving this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more homeschoolers and parents like you find this community. It also helps me in the algorithm of the podcasting world. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, secular underscore homeschool underscore revolution. I will be committing to posting more on there. Until next time, remember to center your kids, but also to center yourself. Show up for you, because when you thrive, your kids thrive. Catch you next week on the Secular Homeschool Revolution. Keep shining, keep thriving, and keep the revolution alive. And you say that with your fists in the air. Thank you.